we are about to have an interesting game against our rivals in West Ham, and we're going to welcome back Mr. Landscape Everything in Graham Potter, and he's going to be hungry to get a sweet revenge because he was massively scapegoated when he was our gaffer for 5-6 months. I think he deserves some criticism, but I still feel for him, Potter. In hindsight, I feel for Maresca and a manager that takes this job, because it's not a job for football. You're just going to be a head coach with barely any power. You will either have a bloated squad, you will get players you never asked for, they will sell players that you want to keep, you will have owners interfering in the dressing room and dictating every single thing, every single detail. And you cannot have politics interfering when you are a manager all the time. Not a nice environment to be in. It's very toxic. It's a fake environment where everything is dictating to make money. I criticize Potter a lot, Pochettino a lot, but in hindsight I kind of regret it to some extent. They deserve some criticism, and Maresca deserves it as well. There's of course things they can do better in terms of tactics and managing the squad, but you're going to be heavily nerfed here if you're taking the Chelsea job. So now he's a gaffer at West Ham. We're gonna face them. He has installed new fresh life at West Ham, and they're going to be very hungry. And they have been pretty solid. I think they've been very interesting in recent games. Although they're missing a striker because of injuries, they still do pretty well as Paqueta is utilized as a false 9, and then they having Kudus attacking behind the back line, having wing backs, making crosses, late runs inside the box. So we're going to have to keep tabs on the wing backs, Paqueta and Kudus. I think this is the perfect club to be at, and he can definitely install that underdog mentality and get the players to really believe in his ideas. I think Graham Potter is flexible. He can change the way they're playing, different system depending on the game. So I think West Ham will be pretty unpredictable. I don't really know what to expect from them. Now, if we're moving further to talk about us, Chelsea, we are not in the best form. Luckily, there are teams around us that is dropping points, and if we're winning this game, we're going back into top 4, and that's what we want. No matter how difficult this season is going to be, top 4 is just a must for a lot of us fans, because we belong in Champions League, but it's going to be so difficult for Maresca to achieve that, unfortunately. Tomorrow, I think, is the last day in the January transfer window, and he has barely been backed. He has barely been getting players he needs to add squad depth and quality in this team. So we are a bit lucky that other teams around us is dropping points, and that allows us to regain back the top 4 spot. The next thing I want to talk about and talking point is that in terms of Maresca, I want him to be fair. I don't know if owners and the board are interfering and deciding which players are going to play. That wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. But I would like Maresca to back himself and ignore the ones that is above him. And I want him to be fair, because I explained this in recent video. When the season started, he mentioned that if you playing well, training well, you will deserve to get game time. He kind of somehow hinted it in the press conference that we could see a few changes. And I think we need to make that happen, especially in goal. Make a few changes in the back line, maybe in attack, because the way Maresca is going with the lineup now is kind of not working. We're having players making mistakes, and it's costing us more than it necessarily need to. And here at Chelsea, unfortunately, you're going to have to be ruthless. If players constantly making mistakes, it can be because you're putting them in a wrong role or position, but most of the times they're making mistakes also because they are just simply susceptible to making errors. So I want to see a few changes. The next thing I want to talk about is whether Maresca has a plan B. Personally, I don't really think he has that sort of plan B. He's a manager that is inexperienced. He's just we just signed him from Championship, being 1 year at Leicester City, where Maresca is trying to install his philosophy at Chelsea, with inverted fullbacks, having players in the half spaces, wide wingers. Some games we're creating heavily a lot of chances, some games we don't. We struggle to break down low blocks. Some games we are absolutely leaking in the back. We're giving the opponents too much space in behind the back line or out wide. We're not being aggressive enough. The in-game management has also been poor. Maresca taking so long to make substitutions and getting in fresh legs. Now, if we continue to dropping points, will Maresca have a plan B to turn to? I don't think he has a plan B. It's either his way or you're gonna have to find another manager. If you want to be successful at Chelsea, you have to also adapt to the players you have. I would love for us this season to have tried playing João Felix and Palmer starting together, or Palmer and Kunku starting together. I mean, imagine if Tuchel, Mourinho had these players, they would definitely find a way to utilize them together. But Maresca is very persistent with always starting Palmer in the number 10 role and not trying to experiment by having maybe Palmer as a right winger and having João Felix and Kunku a proper X factor in the number 10 role that is more dangerous in the final third than some of our wingers. And Palmer can play as a right winger exceptionally well. In terms of the predicted lineup then, let's go into Football Manager. What are we going to do for some changes? First of all, I would like Jorgensen be given a chance in goal. Mentioned that before this season. I would like him to be getting more chances in Premier League. Sanchez making simply too many errors and costing us goals. He's better in terms of ball distribution, and he was one of the best shot stoppers in La Liga last season, playing a full season. So it's not like he's some kind of newbie. And when Jorgensen is in goal, I feel very calm and collected. He seems very composed. So start him. Reece James will be one of the inverted fullbacks, as well as Marco Cucurella on the other side, who will either invert into the midfield or joining in the left half space. Whoops. In the last game we had Chalobah and Colwill as a centre-back pairing. I would make a little change and bring back Tosin. Colwill had a poor game against Manchester City. He has dropped in performance levels, and therefore I would like to bring in Tosin, because I thought Tosin and Chalobah had something going for a few games ago, and I want to really continue that. I thought they were strong together. The pivot, we don't have any other option than playing Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo. There is no other options, unfortunate. Lavia is out injured. The owners will not recall back Ubichuku or Andre Santos. So it leaves us with Caicedo and Fernandez. I pray that they won't get injured and nothing happens then. We have, of course, Kieran Dewsbury to turn to as well. We can bring out Enzo Fernandez and bring in him. The front four, of course, we're starting Cole Palmer. I would like to try him as a winger and maybe having Kunku in the number 10 role here with João Felix. But João Felix is likely to go out on loan. We don't know what's going to happen with Kunku. I honestly don't think Maresca will change his way of playing. Sancho on the left hand side, Dweck on the right hand side, and Jackson up front. We could go with Neto on the left or right hand side. I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. I wouldn't mind seeing Kunku in number 10 role. I wouldn't mind seeing Mark Yu beginning a chance up front. I'm even so desperate to resting Jackson for a few games and having maybe Cole Palmer as a false 9 and then someone else in the number 10 role and see how that will go. But I don't want to make too many changes. We're bringing back in Tosin, Jorgensen in goal. Maybe we see better balance defensively, better ball distribution in the build-up play, as well as not making so many mistakes that could lead to the opponent scoring. In terms of a score prediction as well as my final thoughts of the game, I think we're actually going to collect 3 points at home in a 2-1 narrow victory. It's going to be a very even game. I think Graham Potter's side is still trying to find their system and tactics and chemistry, and they have created a few quality chances, but they have struggled to finish them as much as we do. Potter's team, I don't really know what to expect from them. I think they're going to be solid defensively wise, decent when it comes to attacking. I think we can bounce back a little bit tomorrow and collect 3 points, and we regaining that top 4 spot. Now, in terms of the final thoughts, Maresca needs to help the team with in-game management. If a player doesn't perform, bring him out and bring in players from the bench. Put some pressure on the players that no one should feel safe in this team. And as well, I'm so gutted that Manchester City got destroyed again. We couldn't do the job against them, whilst every other team in this league could have done. If you're brand new here, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my page, hit that notification bell so you never miss when the content drops, and CFCexplained is out.